Good evening. I will call to order the meeting of the Chautauqua County Legislature on May 22nd, 2024. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Anthony.
Here.
Mr. Bankowski.
Here.
Mr. Buchanan.
Here.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Here.
Mr. Heiser.
Here.
Mr. Johnson is absent. Mr. Landy.
Present.
Mr. Larson.
Here.
Mr. Nelson.
Here.
Mr. Nebel.
Here.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlak. Mr. Penhollow.
Here.
Mr. Proctor.
Here.
Mr. Scudder. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Here.
Chairman Shagnon.
Here.
All right, there are 18 members present and 1 member absent. There is quorum.
Thank you. And now we will have the prayer and pledge of allegiance by Legislator Vanstrom.
God, we ask for a flourishing community where neighbors learn to love each other and come to know Jesus. We pray that we can be good stewards of your love to each one of our neighbors. We ask that you help us learn from our community, and it may be a place where we all are welcomed. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And that brings us on our agenda to approval of the minutes of the last legislature meeting on April 24th. Motion to approve by Legislator Bankowski, second by Legislator Wilfong. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? They are approved. That brings us to our first privilege of the floor. Members of the public may comment on any subject relating to any local law, resolution, or motion which appears on tonight's agenda. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes, and comments representing a group shall be limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to address the first privilege of the floor? Anyone for the first privilege of the floor? Seeing no one, we will move along. And that brings us to commendations. I would invite down County Executive.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 2 this evening. One individual's here, and I'll explain where our other. I'm sorry. So if I could, please have Marcia Scott come on down. So the Office of County Executive, Chautauqua County, New York, letter of commendation. Whereas Marcia Scott has been selected as a 2024 Volunteer of the Year by the Chautauqua County Office for Aging Services. And whereas Marcia worked for the Chautauqua County Department of Social Services for 32 years as a social welfare examiner, otherwise known as SWE, I'm told. And whereas Marcia is dedicated and dependable volunteer for numerous local organizations. And whereas Marcia has volunteered for the Asheville Food Pantry, St. Luke's Thrift Shop, the Asheville Library, the Babe Ruth World Series of Cars, the Reginald A. Center for the Arts, the Gary Rodeo, Lucille Ball Little Theater. And whereas Marcia also volunteers to take seniors to community events such as JCC activities, school plays, sales, and luncheons. Now, therefore, I, Paul M. Wendell Jr., Chautauqua County Executive, do hereby thank and congratulate Marcia Scott for her dedicated service and for being recognized as the 2024 Volunteer of the Year for the Chautauqua County Office for Aging Services. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the great county of Chautauqua to be affixed this 22nd day of May, 2024. On behalf of myself, all the residents, and especially the seniors, thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you.
The microphone is yours. The next individual that was also recognized by Office for Aging Services was Greg Peterson. Greg is more eloquently known as the champion for the Jamestown Tarp Skunks and a proud legal consultant and legal counsel for the the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency, as well as many other not-for-profits. But Greg's volunteerism, again, was recognized by the Office for Aging Services. Greg is unable to attend tonight, and I'll make a slight announcement now rather than later. He is there because he is recognizing, along with other members of the IDA, Nate Aldrich, who this evening is being awarded the Rising Star Award. That is an individual under the age of 40 who is seen as a rising star in economic development statewide. So this is a state conference he's attending and will be recognized by New York State Economic Development. So hats off to, we'd like to recognize first Greg and his accomplishment as being Volunteer of the Year, but also recognizing Nate and his great accomplishment as being recognized as a rising star when it comes to economic development throughout New York State. Thank you.
Okay, Olivia.
There are no veto messages from County Executive Wendell from the April 24th, 2024 meeting. Our office has received the 5 communications as listed on the agenda. If you would like a copy of any of these items, please let our office know.
All right, next on our agenda, we're having a public hearing regarding the third modification to map and plan for improvements in the North Chautauqua County Water District. Is there anyone wishing to address the public hearing now that I've opened it? Anyone to address the public hearing regarding the third modification to map and plan for improvements to the North Chautauqua County Water District? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Olivia, on to resolutions.
125-24, confirm reappointments, Airport Commission.
Are there any comments, questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
126-24, confirm appointment, Chautauqua County Board of Health.
Are there any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
127-24, authorized lease of airport parking lot at Chautauqua County Jamestown Airport.
Any questions, any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
128-24, authorize agreement with New York State DOT for performance of federal aid project PIN 5764.84.
Are there any comments or questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
129-24, North Chautauqua Lake Sewer District Plant Capacity Study Grant authorization and appropriation of local match.
Are there any questions or comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
130-24, amend 2024 budget for use of the amended Technology Innovations and Election Resource Grant Award from the New York State Board of Elections.
Are there any comments or questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
131-24, FY21 Cybersecurity Grant Program.
Any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
132-24, distribution of mortgage taxes.
Any comments and questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
133-24, Emergency Services 2024 Budget Adjustments.
Any comments or questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
134-24, authorize acceptance of New York State Indigent Legal Services second statewide expansion of the Harrell Herring Grant for the period of April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2027.
Are there any comments? Are there any questions on the resolution? Legislator Nebel.
Mr. Chairman, I'm voting in favor of this motion this evening, but I am concerned about the large number of public defenders that have been hired the past few years. I remember when the number of assistant district attorneys was roughly equal to the number of assistant public defenders. Today, that ratio is about 2 to 1 in favor of the public defender's office. With the acceptance of this grant, the ratio increases to roughly 3 to 1 in favor of the public defender's office. So I think at some point, we may have to address this disparity. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Legislator
Larson.
Larson.
All those Swedes look alike. We can address the disparity this evening. There's a simple answer. The courts of New York decided a few years ago, when I was already a city court judge, the courts of New York decided that every individual at arraignment, even if you're being arraigned on a very simple shoplifting charge and the judge is going to release you on your own recognizance, we judges can no longer arraign a defendant without a public defender being present. And no DA is present for arraignments. So no DA is asked. Jamestown City Court was ahead of the curve. All my 8 years as city court judge, I had duties on Easter Sunday morning, Christmas morning, nights, weekends. There were people to be arraigned. You go in, you arraign them. And once the court decision came down that every defendant had to have an attorney at arraignment, some public defender had to join me on Easter morning at 9 o'clock or Christmas morning or Christmas Eve. No DA has that obligation. So a lot of public defenders are needed. The rural legislators are familiar with probably the central arraignment part that was largely invented by Judge Gerasi out of the town of Ellicott. And again, to the best of my knowledge, they arraign people every day of the year, and a public defender has to be there. So there's a good explanation. The remaining year and a half of my term, I will be looking for similar good explanations of how I was the legislator, as Terry Nebel and I figured out in January. We reached agreement. I was the legislator that cast the deciding vote to sell the county home. And when that sale closed at the end of 2014, over 200 people left the county payroll. I was surprised to learn in the last 6-7 months there are more people on the county payroll today than after we closed our sale of the county home and took over 200 people off the payroll. I will assume that maybe even half of the 200 and some that have been added are necessary, do valuable work, but I have questions about whether we really needed 200 new employees since 9 years ago at the closing of the sale of the county home. But when it comes to the public defender's office, there's the best answer I can give you, that the burdens on the public defender's office are incredible compared to 6-7 years ago. And that's just the way it is. We have no control over that. If we don't arraign people within 24 to 48 hours, then you run the risk that the people are, well, we have a former public defender in our midst and sitting up as our advisor tonight. You don't have any luxury of saying to heck with it over the weekend or whatever. And you would show up when I called you, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So that's the way it works, Mr. Niebel, Legislator Niebel. And happily, the much maligned state of New York, at least in this county, much maligned, did not send an unfunded mandate to the counties. They send money to pay for these public defenders that the state court system is ordered that we have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Legislator Niebel.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I understand about the arraignments, and that's, all that information is true. But as far as the district attorney's office, there is additional burdens on them, especially as far as discovery. So again, my observation is, and this is just my observation, I think the scales of justice have tilted more in favor of the public defender instead of the district attorney. And I think at some point we may have to take a look at that and make an adjustment.
Thank you. Legislator Larson.
Because I firmly believe in intellectual honesty, the point that Legislator Niebel made is absolutely correct. At about the same time that there was a statewide requirement for attorneys at all arraignments, no matter how minor, and even if the judge was going to turn the person loose and release on their own recognizance, the Legislator Niebel is absolutely right. There were new time limits on discovery demands on the district attorney's offices across the state. How the different county DAs have dealt with it, I honestly don't know. I was mandatorily retired from city court 2.5 years ago because at age 70 I'm no damn good anymore, useless. But Legislator Niebel is right. The district attorney's office, assuming the same number of staff as 5 years ago, they have more of a burden to make sure their cases are protected and not dismissed for failure to miss deadlines. So thank you, Legislator Niebel, for pointing that out, that obligation by the DAs across the state.
Thank you. Legislator Niebel.
One last point. I see that Mr. Larson and I are in agreement on a lot of points. I just wish I could have talked to him 10 years ago concerning the county home.
You did.
It didn't do much good, Fred.
Okay, back to Resolution 134-24. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
135-24, authorize execution of NYS Office of Homeland Security Funding Grant Explosive Detection K-9 Team FY21.
Are there any questions or comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
136-24, authorize execution of NYS Office of Homeland Security Funding Grant Bomb Squad Initiative FY21.
Are there any questions or comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
137-24, authorize execution of NYS Office of Homeland Security Funding Grant Bomb Squad Initiative FY22.
Legislator Bankowski.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend 137-24 with the revised copy that's on the desk of all legislators.
So your motion is to amend by substitution
Yes,
to
sir.
the document that's laid on the desks. Is there a second to the motion? Legislator Wilfong, second, thank you. So we have a revised, proposed revision to the resolution. And Olivia, could you read the addition to the original resolution?
The amendment includes the addition of one resolved clause at the very end. Resolved that the county executive is authorized to execute an agreement to secure the grant funding with the New York State Office of Homeland Security.
And it's my understanding that this resolve clause was inadvertently omitted from the original resolution as pre-filed. So, any questions or comments on the motion to amend by substitution? Hearing none, all those in favor of amending 13724 by substitution, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is amended. Now, to the amended resolution 13724. Are there any questions or comments on the amended resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
138-24. Authorize agreement with various school districts for school resource officer services 2024 through 2025.
Are there any comments or questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Legislator Bankowski.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to block 139-24 through 151-24.
Okay, we have a motion to block and a second by Legislator Vanstrom. Discussion on the motion to block. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? They are blocked.
139-24. Accept state environmental quality review determination for the NYS Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Trail S16A GPS update. 140-24. Accept state environmental quality review determination for the NYS Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Trail C4 Chautauqua GPS update. 141-24. Accept state environmental quality review determination for the NYS Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Trail C4B GPS update. 142-24. Accept state environmental quality review determination for the NYS Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Trail C4E GPS update. 143-24. Accept state environmental quality review determination for the NYS Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Trail S41 GPS update. 144-24. Accept state environmental quality review determination for the NYS Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Trail S47 GPS update. 145-24. Accept state environmental quality review determination for the NYS Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Trail S48 GPS update. 146-24. Accept state environmental quality review determination for the NYS Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Trail S49 GPS update. 147-24. Accept state environmental quality review determination for the NYS Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Trail C4 Sherman GPS update. 148-24. Accept state environmental quality review determination for the NYS Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Trail S52 Sherman GPS update. 149-24. Accept state environmental quality review determination for the NYS Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Trail S52 Harmony East GPS update. 150-24. Accept state environmental quality review determination for the NYS Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Trail S52 Harmony North GPS update. 151-24. Accept state environmental quality review determination for the NYS Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Trail S52 Harmony and North Harmony GPS update.
Are there any questions or comments on any of the blocked resolutions 139-24 through 151-24? Hearing none, all in favor of the blocked resolutions, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? They are carried.
152-24, affirming acceptance of state environmental quality review of proposed 2024 agricultural district inclusions.
Any comments or questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
153-24, approving SEQRA findings in relation to the third modification of the map and plan for the North Chautauqua County Water District.
Any questions or comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
154-24, determining that it is in the public interest to make a third modification to the map and plan for the North Chautauqua County Water District.
Any comments or discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
155-24, authorize county to apply for grants and loans on behalf of the North Chautauqua County Water District in connection with a third amendment to the map and plan.
Any comments, any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
156-24, reallocating salary grade for licensed practical nurse 2, county jail, registered professional nurse 2, county jail, registered nurse supervisor 1, county jail, and registered nurse supervisor for public health.
Are there any questions or any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Okay. Mr. Anthony. Yes. Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Buchanan. Yes. Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson is absent. Mr. Landy.
Yes.
Mr. Larson.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlock.
Yes.
Mr. Penhollow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mr. Scudder.
Yes.
Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 18 yes votes and 1 member absent. The resolution is adopted. (157-24), setting salary for grant coordinator.
Are there any questions or any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Anthony.
Yes.
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Buchanan. Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon. Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson is absent. Mr. Landy.
Yes.
Mr. Larson.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlock.
Yes.
Mr. Penhollow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mr. Scudder.
Yes.
Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 18 yes votes and 1 member absent. The resolution is adopted. (158-24), setting salary for senior grant coordinator.
Are there any questions or any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Anthony.
Yes.
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Buchanan. Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson is absent. Mr. Landy.
Yes.
Mr. Larson.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel,
Yes.
Miss Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Pavlock,
Yes.
Mr. Penhallow, Mr. Proctor,
Yes.
Mr. Scudder,
Yes.
Miss Vanstrom,
Yes.
Mr. Wilfong,
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 18 yes votes and 1 member absent. The resolution is adopted. Okay, motions. Motion A on the agenda, a motion opposing Part O of the Governor's 2024 Article 7 revenue bill regarding the sitting of major electric transmission facilities, also known as the Rapid Act, has received the required amount of signatures to be brought to the floor.
Are there any comments or any discussion on the motion? Legislator Nelson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not support the motion. Each of us represents a district of the county and the people of that district. And in this motion, in any motion, it assumes that the whole county supports it, and that's not the case here. I think the fact of the matter is that there are people in my district and throughout the city of Jamestown and other parts of the county who support the governor and her initiatives and her goals. The Rapid Act will help streamline the siting and permitting of major electric transmission infrastructure in New York. The changes will improve the current system by establishing a more efficient process with clear and concise timelines, and it's already been passed. So I support it, and like I said, I'll be voting no for the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Larson?
Once again, motions. What was that word I used last time? There was
Hickaboo?
what was it? A bugaboo.
Bugaboo.
So now we got another bugaboo tonight. We got 18 out of 19 of us, all experts on electric generation and transmission, and we're going to tell Albany what to do. So I would just be brief and say it's ironic. For those of you that don't know, we're sitting in a building today that is lit by Niagara Power through the Mayville Municipal Electricity. This is a municipal power company, not a private one. This electricity comes down huge power lines all the way from Niagara Falls down by the thruway. And heaven help us if any of those townships in Niagara County, Erie County, or Chautauqua County had been able to say, oh, not in our county, you'll have to go around us somewhere. The electric generation and distribution system cannot work that way. And I want my children and grandchildren to have access to wherever our future electricity comes from: nuclear, solar, wind, hydrogen, natural gas, coal that is CO2 sequestered and put underground. Wherever it comes from, it's got to get to people. And I have no expertise in this particular matter, but neither do you. With all due respect, we should keep our nose out of things that don't deal specifically with Chautauqua County and things where we don't have more expertise than the legislators and governor in Albany. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Other comments, other discussion on the motion? Legislator Proctor?
Yes, I'll be supporting the motion. I requested the motion. It does affect Chautauqua County, as this does, as it's written, will erode, as it says, as in the one whereas clause, our home rule, and it undermines local municipalities' authority. And yes, this motions are a bugaboo, I guess. We've got 2 bugaboos on the agenda tonight. But if we do stay silent on what we believe and what we want to see happen, we should not stay silent on that. So, and I think many people also support this. So I don't expect 100% 100% of the people to support this motion or this Part O of the Rapid Act. But my biggest fear is the erosion of home rule in municipalities and what they can determine happens in their local towns, villages, and cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion on the motion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Anthony. Mr. Bankowski. Mr. Buchanan. Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon. Mr. Heiser. Mr. Johnson is absent. Mr. Landy. Mr. Larson.
No.
Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Miss Parker. Mr. Pavlak. Mr. Penhollow. Mr. Proctor. Mr. Scudder. Miss Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong. Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
All right. There are 12 yes votes, 6 no votes, and 1 member absent. The motion is adopted.
Please?
Don't our rules require 13 votes to pass a motion?
The requirement is for 2/3?
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
And that's 13 votes.
Yes.
Parliamentarian is checking our memories.
I refer everyone to our rule number 5 on motions, subsection capital B.
Yep.
A particular motion should not be
Legislator Larson, you're
considered
correct. It does take a 2/3 majority of the entire legislature to pass
Thank you.
the motion, so the motion is defeated.
Okay.
Thank you for the point of order.
Sorry about that. Okay. Motion B on the agenda, proclaiming June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth in Chautauqua County, has received the required amount of signatures to be brought to the floor.
Are there any comments, any questions on the motion B? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. And that brings us to announcements. Are there any announcements from any of the legislators for the good of the order? Legislator Parker.
Yeah, I wanted to speak hopefully on behalf of our Jamestown legislators and our Dunkirk, Fredonia legislators, and invite everyone to come to the Juneteenth celebrations. There is one in Jamestown on the weekend of June 19th, and there is one in Dunkirk. And it's a really wonderful celebration to commemorate the ending of slavery, and it's really a lot of fun too. So I wanted to invite everyone to come to those celebrations. Thank you.
Thank you. Other announcements? Legislator Wilfong.
I'd also like to invite Invite everyone down to, on Memorial Day for the activities in Jamestown. We have a huge parade, and there'll be military ceremonies at Lakeview Cemetery after the parade.
Thank you. Other announcements? Yes, Legislator Gustafson.
Yes, I'd just like to invite everybody down on Memorial Day at 9 a.m. for the Town of Bustye Parade, followed by the Village of Lakewood Parade at 10 a.m. with ceremonies in both cemeteries afterward and a pancake breakfast in Bustye.
Thank you. Legislator Bankowski.
Yes, on behalf of myself and Legislator Buchanan, we'd like to welcome everybody to the city of Dunkirk on Memorial Day. 10 o'clock at Memorial Park, we will have our annual placement of the wreaths at the military monuments at 10 a.m. And then at 11 o'clock, we have our annual parade. There is a chicken barbecue at the American Legion Post following that. And just for the Juneteenth festival in Dunkirk, that will also be held at Memorial Park, the site for that.
Thank you. Other announcements? Legislator Wilfong.
Yeah, I'd like everyone to come down to Father's Day to come to the world-famous Yazoo Festival in the city of Jamestown. It's Father's Day, Friday night and Saturday night, and it's a good chance for you to get Greek for the weekend. There she is right there.
Okay. Other announcements? Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Lots of announcements tonight. Thank you. Okay, that brings us on our agenda to the second privilege of the floor. Members of the public may comment on any subject. A member of the legislature may speak on any subject. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes, and comments representing a group shall be limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to address the second privilege of the floor?
Hello.
Please introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Christie. I reside in Gary. I'm a Jamestown-based CPS caseworker. I've been employed with the county since July of 2019. I've attended multiple legislature meetings and even spoken at one before. And I wanted to provide you all with some updated information related to our work environment and child protective services. CPS staff are still not at a standard 40-hour work week. We are currently allotted additional flex time to work up to 40, including those extra 5 hours. However, with 6 current vacancies in our office alone, even 40 is not enough most weeks. The workers in an office where there are vacancies are absorbing the work of all of those vacancies. Our cases are intensified, which results in more referrals and contacts with families, foster care removals, allotting different times for different families for additional time to support families in our community to ensure the health, safety, and well-being of our families. Our commissioner, Mr. Carmelo Hernandez, has publicly recognized during meetings and has also been quoted in the local newspapers acknowledging the need for additional hours to support our families to ensure safety of the children. Mr. Hernandez was quoted stating that Jamestown is more like the Bronx, where Dunkirk is more like a suburban area. Anyone in this room can see that based on the local news, the ongoing concerns for domestic violence, violent crimes involving drugs and guns, excessive addiction related to drug usage, and mental health concerns are ongoing and consistent. Despite working up to 40 hours, there has not been a change in our status, which results in not receiving compensation in the form of vacation and sick time. Over the course of time, this is going to directly impact many of our retirements, as there are different contributions given for contractual hours worked. Those retiring utilize their sick time directly as insurance coverage following the retirement as per our contract with the union. With the lack of consistency between the hours worked and compensation in the form of benefit time, there will be a long-term negative impact on an employee's benefit following their retirement. Additionally, for the well-being of workers working in a high-stress, high-turnover job, employees should be granted time to ensure that they are maintaining their own healthy mental health. As a reminder, 62% of the salary for child protection employee is paid for by New York State, as it is a mandated position. So whether the staff are at 35 or 40 hours, the state percentage remains the same. The department is able to make these changes related directly to our hours. We have been told that the recruitment efforts continue. However, the list for the spring test has already been exhausted. That test occurred in April. The next test is not scheduled until fall. The time in between hiring to training can take many months. During this time, there's going to be additional stress placed on the workers as there is no designated trainer within the department. Many potential candidates are not able to work a job that is less than 40 hours a week when they are looking to provide for their own families. There's also extensive out-of-town training that is required when others have deemed it not feasible, as they have responsibilities that they have to maintain where they reside and are not able to travel that far.
Excuse me, you've exceeded your time. Please wrap it up.
Oh, sorry. It should be noted that the department head is able to make these grade reallocations. Making a CPS grade a higher would, in my opinion, attract more qualified individuals and address some of our staffing concerns. I'm not sure. I think, don't we get 5 minutes when we're speaking on behalf of a group?
You didn't indicate you were speaking on behalf of the group.
On the behalf of the Jamestown workers.
Okay, if you are, then please continue.
Yes, please. Thank you. Let's see, where was I? It should also be noted that the head of a department is able to request a grade reallocation, which has been done in the past for our department. Making the job as a CPS worker a higher grade would attract more qualified individuals and assist in solving some of our staffing concerns and inevitably addressing the safety on a more consistent basis. I've worked in several organizations and have not had this type of unresolved issue that we are experiencing on a consistent basis. There does not seem to be a concrete plan on how to solve these concerns. We've made multiple suggestions out of our office and feel that at this point in time we're being ignored and dismissed. I know myself and those in our department take our jobs very seriously when it comes to ensuring the safety of children. We work when we are clocked in, and when we return home, we worry about the what ifs and how we could have done better. The need to have follow-up meetings with our commissioner has been very challenging, to say the least. When there was a decrease in the allowed hours, when workers in Jamestown requested a meeting with our commissioner, Mr. Hernandez, due to the confusion of the week prior regarding the 40-hour work week, we were told that we were not able to have a meeting with him. Our colleagues in another work location were giving a meeting in a timely fashion with the same exact concerns that we had. The Jamestown-based staff requested another follow-up meeting with Mr. Hernandez on May 15th, and were told that we needed to wait until he had a meeting with our supervisors on June 12th, a meeting that they had previously requested 6 weeks earlier on May 2nd. There's a significant concern on the availability to meet with our administration in order to provide solutions to the issues that we continue to address but have not been able to come to a solution. By my understanding, there was an offer for a time study to be completed by an outside agency, something that the department has done in the past. The approximated cost for this would be $200,000 to the county. This time study is not set to start until the fall, and it would take 9 to 10 months to complete, with no definitive date given for the results. I believe that the time study will not be reflective on how our department truly functions. There are many restrictions limiting involvement in those completing the time study from the outside agency due to confidentiality. A time study is not feasible, as we have noted that we need staff. A time study is not going to assist in the safety of children in our community right now. We cannot wait more than a year to receive assistance in being proactive rather than reactive to assure the safety of our vulnerable population. To you, in a year...
Please wrap it up.
I
You
have one
far
more
exceeded
sentence.
your 5 minutes.
To you and I, a year may not seem long. However, to a child who is in a dangerous situation, it is forever. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor?
Good evening. My name is Susan Baldwin, and I live in Villanova. And I came here today and do appreciate that you have decided to not support the Rapid Act. I have a turbine I can see out every window of my house because I'm surrounded by them. And if it's so affordable, our new electric bill, last year my electric bill for this time of year, for April to May, was $64. This year, no new heat, no new car, no new appliances. In fact, I have one of those on-demand electric water tanks, so I don't hardly use it. Wash my clothes in cold water. My bill, my use was $127 for April to May, but my bill was $347.63 because there is a $198.17 subtotal electricity delivery fee. So that subtotal electricity supply fee was $135.29 after they tacked on a merchant function charge for April and a merchant function charge for May, because they split that up into 2 months because the bill overlaps both months. But it's actually every 30 days, not, it's from April 13th, 24 to May 13th, 24. So, this is not affordable. And Chautauqua County is the second poorest county in New York State, followed only by Brooklyn. So why are we being socked with electric bills that on a fixed income, and I make a little too much money for help, but certainly I'm hoping not to have to ask for help to pay my electric bill. And you want me to buy a car? No, this has gotta stop. And those turbines are noisy and they are drilling. PPP, Future Development, is with Northland Power of Canada. Canada has rented Chautauqua County, Erie County, Cattaraugus County. All these turbines are pieces of junk, and they're going to put thousands of them across New York State in order to power New York City. We need them to turn off the lights. I'm tired of paying for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor?
Sheriff Quattrone. Lieutenant Renzel's going to keep me on for 3 minutes, but I would like to address two of the resolutions. First, the 134 with the indigent legal services. Not so much about the resolution, but Mr. Larson mentioned the centralized arraignment, and I wanted to compliment the work that our corrections officers and our corrections staff do. They often get extra duties as a result of that and are not compensated any additionally for that. Second, Resolution 156, the reallocation of the nurses in the jail. I would put our medical clinic and our mental health clinic at the top of the line in this county for the work that they do. So I appreciate that. We've lost some nurses as a result of the salary going to, most of them have gone to the state. And then lastly, I think I'm still on my a minute and a half. I would like to thank Legislator Benkowski for, he thought I was going to be in the dunk tank, but I skated it out and went out of town. But he helped us get a dunk tank down at the Touch a Truck event down at Chautauqua Park or Jackson Taylor Park on May 11th, which even with the weather, it seemed to be a good turnout. So thank you, Mr. Benkowski.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor?
Mr. Chairman,
Legislator Larson.
this is the second time or so that as 19 legislators, or 18, whatever, tonight, we've heard a request that at least part of a department go from X number of hours a week to 40. And maybe for next month's meeting or your personnel committee meeting, that's probably the wrong name, I'm sorry. I only am on economic development, but maybe there could be clarification from the law department. My recollection from my days as county attorney was that it was well settled by New York law that the county of Chautauqua retains the management right to tell any department or part of a department, you're a 35-hour-a-week department, you're a 37.5-hour department, or you're a 40-hour department. If that is still true, then it's the challenge to the legislature is it's up to management, county executive, to decide whether to have a 40-hour The law department could be 40, 35, 37 and a half. It's a management prerogative, as I remember. If I'm wrong, we'll get an update. But it's not up to us to set the terms and conditions of employment with Chautauqua County. It's up to the county executive, and you can read the charter and confirm that. We may be totally sympathetic to the plea of a certain department, but their plea through publicity, a public request, that may lead to the county executive, the administrative part of county government, to say, okay, for the rest of this year or whatever, this part of this department will be a 40-hour week. I believe that's a management prerogative that does not need to be negotiated with any bargaining representative. If we can get clarification of that by next month's meeting, that'd be good for all of us to understand what our role is versus the executive's role in this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Larson, for clarifying that for the public. As much as I try and point that out to individuals, I appreciate you reinforcing that. Thank you. And next, for second privilege of the floor.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Toda. My address is 144 Clifton Avenue in Jamestown. I'm making my comments and opinions based on media reports and the law. The Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986, signed by former President Ronald Reagan, states in part that employers must verify immigrant work status by passports, birth certificates, social security cards, or other appropriate documentation. In turn, the workers must also verify that they are either U.S. citizens or nationals or authorized aliens. Recently, Kathy Hochul stated, "Hotel owners and restaurants are coming to me, stating you can send me some of the migrants up here. We need them." Hochul stated there are thousands of job openings and that the migrants are all legal people. Hochul expressed the need to quickly hire migrants to work throughout New York State. New York City Mayor Eric Adams claimed that 67,000 migrants in New York City shelters that were stated there, and the right to shelter was never meant to apply to large-scale migrant populations arriving without housing or legal work status. Are we going to listen to more lies from Kathy Hochul? Are New Yorkers going to again violate yet another federal statute to comply with Hochul's illegal policies? During the COVID pandemic, Hochul lied and extorted first-line healthcare workers, saying that get a vaccine or get fired, when there was no one else available to replace those workers. Hochul will use SS tactics to remove New Yorkers from their homes based upon arbitrary, capricious, and oppressive determinations of the New York State Department of Health. There is a resolution number 14 that was just approved by the City of Jamestown Council 2 days ago in the amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars from the state of New York to law enforcement. Are Jamestonians going to be arrested? Some of those appropriations were for drones, by the way. Are Jamestonians going to be arrested in the future for barbecuing a weenie in their backyards caught in such act by a drone? New York State is the 4th largest welfare state in the Union. Hochul wants to deny New Yorkers on welfare their right to work by using illegal immigrants. Such discrimination against New Yorkers and also by the use of modified civil service tests will give rise to lawsuits by persons who previously took a harder test for the same job. Where is Senator Schumer, the majority leader on these issues, and also Senator Gillibrand? They are silent and complicit in the violation of multiple federal statutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Parker.
In response to Legislator Larson's noting that the legislature does not make any decisions about salaries and and the like for Child Protective Services or any other department. I wanted to make note that, yes, that is absolutely true, but based on the fact that the person from Child Protection several people from Child Protection have come several times to the Human Services Committee and also to the full legislature, I'd like to make note that the Human Services Committee can, if instructed by the legislature or in agreement with the legislature, can continuously monitor the programs associated with human services under the executive branch of county government and evaluate the performance of such programs relative to the goals and objectives and specific performance measures adopted by the legislature and in accordance with program appropriations. There are a number of other things that specific committees can do, and I think that we have discussed in Human Services those possibilities. So all I'm doing is making some clarification that what is being considered right now is looking at some of these actual things that Human Services Committee could do and study and make recommendations. In addition, there's more information, but I just wanted to make that clarification in light of the fact that the Human Services Committee is going to be meeting with stakeholders possibly to discuss some of the concerns from Child Protective Services. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments for the second privilege of the floor? Legislator Bankowski.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
No, you can't do that. Thank you. Do I have a second? Legislator Gustafson, thank you. All in favor, please say aye. And we're adjourned.